This is the Paranormal Report. Welcome to the Paranormal Report. I'm Jim.
I'm Dar.
Hey,
what's going on? You've been busy lately.
I
Working on some skills with a Zed, right?
Now that we have more time in the evenings, the kids are off doing their things. I decided I was going to take dancing lessons. And you decided for whatever reason you didn't want to join me. But
I don't need those.
Here's a recent picture. And
that's lovely. Yes.
Yeah. Now it's really weird because it seems like my head got bigger when I walked into this place with my friends.
You look like a little gnome.
Confident. Yeah, I got little legs there,
tiny legs. Tiny legs. What happened to your legs?
I'm not sure.
Like one of the things that attracted me to you were your legs. Now they're gone. Yeah, they're tiny legs.
There you go. But I'll keep everybody. I'll keep everybody updated on my dancing skills and how all of that goes.
Oh no, yeah, so that'll be good. Oh brother.
And this week, there's big news. Big news. Potentially life on Mars, says NASA, or at least evidence that there once was life on Mars. Potential, big potential. This is from BBC.com, so it must be true. Life on Mars, leopard spot rocks could be biggest clue yet. And basically NASA last week held a press conference, and they talked about mudstones found in a dusty riverbed by NASA's Perseverance rover. And these mudstones are dotted with intriguing markings nicknamed leopard spots and poppy seeds. And scientists believe these features contain minerals produced by chemical reactions that could be associated with ancient Martian microbes. So they're not saying it's definitely evidence of life, but it is something that could indicate that there was life, and they feel that it's the clearest sign of ancient life on Mars yet.
Wow.
They said the findings are significant enough to meet NASA's criteria for what it calls, quote, potential biosignatures, unquote. Professor Sanjeev Gupta, planetary scientist from Imperial College London, said, we've not had something like this before, so I think that's the big deal. We found features in the rocks that if you saw them on Earth could be explained by biology, by microbial process. So we're not saying we found life, but we're saying that it really gives us something to chase. Now, there is some question, though, because the only way to fully confirm this is to bring these samples back to Earth. And apparently, a Mars sample return mission has been proposed by NASA and the European Space Agency. But it looks uncertain. The U.S. Space Agency science budget is facing huge cuts, and a sample return mission is one of those facing cancellation. So let's hope that that turns around, and they say, "Hey, let's check into this." Now, I personally believe that not only is there ancient life on Mars potentially, I believe that there's active, complex life throughout the universe. That's my bias, though.
Well, I would agree with that. We just don't know about it and can't find it. I don't think our technology is able to detect that yet.
But honestly, I mean, I remember when people talked about possible life on Mars and it was poo-pooed, and they said, "Oh, there isn't such a thing, and this is just ridiculous." So again, we see science starting to catch up and say, well, maybe we were wrong about that. So, I mean, I think hopefully that will continue and they'll become more open-minded about these things. And, again, I think life is out there, and there's always interesting signs and weird things showing up. And you found something.
I just wanted to say, what scares me about that, if there was life, what happened and why did it stop existing, right? And is that something maybe planet Earth is headed towards as well? Like, could it be the destruction? Yeah. And then it's not there anymore. You know what I'm saying? So, because I've been reading a lot of things about Mars and different things that they've been finding. And if there was life, what happened? And
it could be some natural cataclysm. It could be, if there was a civilization. And I think that plays into the Fermi paradox. Why haven't we found the aliens, if they're out there, well, maybe I think the theory goes that once a civilization reaches a certain point, it by definition destroys itself. And we've got a couple ways now, or, it depends on where you fall on different things. Either we could pollute ourselves to death, or we could nuke ourselves to death. Or maybe next up on deck, we may AI ourselves to death. So the thing is that...
Yeah.
So the point being that once a civilization reaches a certain stage, it destroys itself. And that's why, we've not dead on found them, even though many people believe they're here and they're visiting. So I guess it depends on
Or could the creator in the video game just say, I'm done with them now.
Yeah.
And
on to the next one.
Just shuts it all off.
Well, I mean, it goes back to the 1970s. I think it was Voyager, I'm not sure, where they took this famous picture of a face on Mars, and people believed that it looked like a face. And of course, the scientists came out and said, it's just pareidolia and all this stuff. And I'm not convinced of that. I mean, if there had been an ancient civilization on Mars, it was probably so long ago and so many things have happened that evidence of it would almost be utterly destroyed. And you couldn't find it. I mean, we know when something is abandoned here for 10 years, 20 years, you can just barely tell it was there. Imagine if we're talking about tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of years or whatever it is. So
I agree.
Don't know, but I mean, I think all arrows are pointing up to life elsewhere. And those who poo-pooed it years ago when we first started, I think they're starting to change their tune. And there's signs everywhere, strange signs everywhere. And you've got a story about a strange sign.
Yeah. So recently, this article is from livescience.com. And recently in Chile, there was a camera. They have some camera traps put up to study biology, to study what's going on. And they detected some really strange lights through the wilderness, and no one has an explanation of what they are. So there are some pictures there. There are these giant, there's like 3 of them. Like in 2 seconds, they see these intense lights moving forward and moving downward. And it was, nobody has an explanation. Some people thought, okay, maybe it was like a plasmoid, but they had determined that the weather conditions weren't appropriate, like lightning ball, like we had talked about a few weeks ago that happened in Canada. Yeah, they said, no, because the weather conditions wouldn't have supported that. They thought maybe it was an arachnid coming very close to the camera lens, and it set it off. But they said that wouldn't have caused 3 balls of light afterwards. Yeah. They said that wouldn't have been the reason for that. And people are saying, in Chile, the scientists are very intrigued because they said there's no possibility of fraud or manipulation because these camera traps operate under rigorous protocols. They're equipped with an infrared system, motion sensor, and it precludes people tampering with them. So, they said it's the first time they've seen this phenomena in that area, and the first time it's been recorded that way. There is some theory. There's the local Mapuche people spoke of bad lights, which they believed were spirits that would appear in the fields. And people are saying maybe it's finally capturing what people have thought all along.
Well, this just isn't left to that area. There's one I remember. I just recently, because I love to watch old unsolved mysteries, the Robert Stack version, the real version. And they had this thing about the Gurdon light in Arkansas that I think is still a thing today. It's by this set of train tracks, and people see this red light, and there's legends that it was somebody killed on the railroad and those kind of things. But it shows up, and even professors and academics have looked at it, and they can't fully explain it. Then there have been numerous cases of things like spook lights and different kind of lights. And even on a campfire, we had someone who called in and said this was a story that was handed down in his family, and it might have been in even horse and buggy times or very early automobile times. the grandfather of the family was traveling down this 2-lane road, and it looked like something was coming at it with headlights, like it was going to hit him directly. And then right before it hit him, the lights split. One went one way, one went the other. So, I mean, this whole phenomena of lights has been reported throughout history, and not traditional UFOs per se, but these just strange lights. Again, right. I'll get back to it. I'll repeat myself. The universe is a very, very strange place.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, so they're going to continue to, the cameras are still there. I think they're up for another 10 years and they're hoping they see it again. Some people are of the thought, is it like a UAP? Is it like them coming down and kind of looking, like scoping things out? Don't know. But right now, nobody knows what these are. So yeah, very interesting.
Interesting. Well, the Hatman. We hear a lot about the Hatman on Campfire, and actually this story very much plays into some campfire stories I just recorded yesterday.
Wow.
And it wasn't a Hatman, but it was about sleep paralysis, and that plays into it. This is from dailymail.co.uk. And some scientists are talking about where this idea of the Hatman comes from, because I guess, when people used to see things in the night, they would see ghostly apparitions. They would see the old hag. A lot of people waking up, seeing this old kind of sinister looking woman over them, and they can't move and those kind of things. Now, these experts, according to this story, reveal the truth behind this terrifying specter. And said may have been influenced by one of Hollywood's most famous villains. Jane Teresa Anderson, a dream analyst and neurobiologist based in Tasmania, Australia, talks about the Hatman here, and she says the figure is generally dark and shadowy with no discernible features, and that's true. I mean, when people call in the campfire and talk about it, it's always kind of like, darker than dark, like somebody cut a hole out of the universe. Anderson says it may represent a person's deepest, darkest, shadowy fears. Now, they are saying that this is all due to sleep paralysis, and basically, whatever the cultural boogeyman of the era is, that's what people see. So if it's gray aliens, people will see gray aliens because they internalize those images as something fearful and then they project them out. So in other words, it's all in their mind is what they're saying.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I don't like that.
But. And they go on to say, although sleep paralysis only lasts a few seconds, the terrifying experience feels so real that you feel doomed. Sleep paralysis comes with distressing hallucinations of a terrifying figure holding us down, such as a ghost, gremlin, Grim Reaper, or the Hatman. The evil entity people see during sleep paralysis often depends on their culture, what they explore, what they expect to see. So here's my point. And I actually said that it's so funny this story came up because I didn't even know you found this story. But yesterday I was talking to, I think we had 2 or 3 people call in specifically about these terrifying sleep paralysis events. Just, too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence.
Right.
And the thing is what I said to them is, first of all, I am not a medical expert, and I would not claim to be a medical expert. I can just give you my opinion. And I have 3 ways of thinking about sleep paralysis. I think you have sleep paralysis, which is merely some kind of medical situation and biological situation. I totally think that's real. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I also wonder if sleep paralysis, similar to dreams, puts you in some kind of state where you are more susceptible to receiving the supernatural and the paranormal. In other words, you're having some kind of condition, but it puts you in a state, like I think in the dream state, we're more able to maybe communicate with ones who have passed. I think that some people have premonitions, like Mark on that recent episode of Campfire about the horrible case of 9/11, where he had that premonition. So I think that, like the dream state, sometimes puts us in those more vulnerable states. I think sleep paralysis can do the same thing. And then sometimes it might be purely the paranormal. So I'm trying to leave space here for science, but also for the unknown, because I don't think it has to be either or. I think it can be a continuum. I don't know if you've thought about this much. What do you think?
I have not. I just think it's scary. I can imagine the people that have experienced it and the people that come on the show and talk about it. I mean, that's just terrifying. I mean, imagine you're there and you can't move. Didn't I read an explanation, though? Sometimes it could be like the body's way of protecting you so that you're not acting out your dreams.
Right. Because it is true that we're basically, as I understand it, again, I'm not an expert, but we're kind of paralyzed during sleep to an extent. So, if we're having a dream where we're beating somebody up, we're not, beating up our spouse or something like that. It is a defense mechanism. And I've seen actually experiments done on this, and they showed this poor animal who had, I don't know if it was intentional, if they did an experiment, which was horrible. This was like on a science show too. It was like Nova or something. And they said they showed where the animal didn't have that part of their brain or whatever, and they would act out their dreams. So yeah, but to me, it doesn't have to be an either or, right?
Well, I mean, this article.
They totally say it's all medical.
It's all psychology. It's all, it's just what you believe in. Well, what if I don't believe in the Hatman, or I don't, not that I don't. I've
had people who have said they saw it and they never heard of it before.
Right.
That's the thing.
Right.
That's assuming. Now, here in this article, Dr. Alice Vernon, sleep disorder researcher at Aberystwyth University and author of Ghosted, says popular culture influences what we see during sleep paralysis. When we're told a scary story or watch a horror film, we lie in bed thinking about it, hoping not to encounter the monster. So when we suffer with sleep paralysis, it is the first scary thing our brain thinks of to explain the frightening situation. So
what about people who don't, like me, who don't watch horror movies?
Right.
What if it's somebody like that and experiences Hatman or some other figure or demon or whatever while they're like paralyzed? Come on. I don't know. That's all I want. Why can't everybody just be open-minded a little bit? Like, just explore all the reasons for things. I mean, and I know most articles and most scientists have to take one stand because they have a hypothesis and they're trying to prove that theory. But I don't know, just leave some wiggle room, because
we see it everywhere. I mean, basically, the whole opposite modus operandi of the world these days is that either you agree with everything I say or you agree with nothing I say, and it's one side or the other. And the truth is, I believe a lot of times the truth is somewhere in the middle. Just my 2 cents. This is a very, very interesting story to me about comatose patients. Fascinating stuff. What did you find, Dar?
Yeah. So Upworthy.com, they said 2 comatose patients were taken off life support, and what happened in their brains stunned scientists, right? So, NDEs, very popular, what's going on, trying to get some research going on, and what happens with your brain as you're dying, right? That's been very much in the news and in the research. So there's an article out that it was in The Guardian in 2024 stating the new science of death, there's something happening in the brain that makes no sense. And author Alex Blasdell discusses the focused curiosity of Jimo Borjigian. She's a professor of neurology at the University of Michigan. Okay. And, she read all kinds of things about near-death experiences, like cardiac arrest survivors and all the journeys that they had gone through. And so she was a skeptic about a lot of this, right? So she started doing some research, and she did a study for the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science. And her team found 2 patients that, when they were removed from ventilator support, showed an increase in heart rate along with a surge of gamma wave activity, considered the fastest brain activity and associated with consciousness. So it was very interesting. The one patient, when they were taken off oxygen, there was a surge of activity in the dying brain. Areas that had been nearly silent while she was on life support suddenly thrummed with high-frequency electrical signals, called those gamma rays, and they consider that a hot zone for consciousness. So for 2 minutes after the oxygen was cut off, quote, they're saying there was an intense synchronization of her brain waves, a state associated with many cognitive functions, including heightened attention and memory. The synchronization dampened for about 18 seconds, then intensified again for more than 4 minutes. It faded for a minute, then came back for a third time. That patient, unfortunately, did not recover. But they're saying it had like a cacophony of neurotransmitters that kind of exploded into light, maybe guiding them through tunnels of memories, maybe. I don't know. So it's just very interesting. They're learning a lot more about this.
Well, I gotta say a couple things. First of all, we've had Dr. Eben Alexander on, who was in a coma and talked about these, almost near-death type experiences, and that they were just beyond his imagination. And that was a best-selling book that he wrote, and he was on Oprah and things. Very, very big book and very popular. And he was a physician who said, I didn't believe in any of this stuff, but wow, when I was in a coma, some wild things happened. And the other thing I've always wondered about, and this isn't really paranormal or supernatural, when somebody's in a coma and they say, oh, they don't know what's going on. How do you know they don't know what's going on? Well, it gets into a lot of ethical stuff we're not going to get into here, but I'm always very leery of writing somebody off prematurely. And do we really know what people are experiencing with they're in coma? I would say no.
Well, being a speech therapist, I think I had one patient who was actually in a coma. I just never, even people have had strokes and who cannot verbalize, that doesn't mean they didn't have comprehension, and maybe they didn't have a way to express that comprehension, right? They say, oh, well, you've tested them for receptive language, how much they understand.
Yeah, maybe your tests are wrong. Maybe their tests are wrong. Or incomplete.
Or it's just not, they're not able to indicate that they know something. Do you know what I'm saying? So even my patients with just strokes, in fact, I always encouraged family, friends, staff, please talk to them like they do understand. Do not write them off that they do not understand what's going on. And I feel it's the same in a coma. You don't know, okay, so we have the Glasgow coma scale and they're not moving and they're not showing reaction to this or reaction to light. That doesn't mean that their brain waves are not moving. You don't have them hooked up to an EEG. You have no idea what's going on in their brain, right? And it's not always just the visible, parts of them that are going to, oh, look, they moved their finger. Maybe they can't move, right? So I just don't like writing anyone off that they don't hear and they don't understand. And I encourage everybody, if you ever have somebody going through something, you speak with them normally and, think about it this way too. You're also increasing their ability. I mean, maybe you're going to help bring that skill back, that they can communicate better. So just don't write people off. I just think a lot more needs to be done in that.
I would agree. Agree. Well, interesting video coming out of China. Of course, we would share it here, but you know how that goes, folks. With YouTube, it's like strike. So there was, this is metro.co.uk. There was a video of a fireball streaking across the sky before being hit midair and exploding in China. And people are wondering, was a UFO or a meteor shot down? The light show was seen above China's Shandong province on Friday. Apparently, and there's a picture of it here, it shows basically a fireball. Another object comes out and blows it out of the sky. So what that is. Now, they're saying, of course, they're going to say, oh, it was a meteor. And they said that a missile would be incapable, even a hypersonic missile would be incapable of shooting it out of the sky. Other people think it might have been some kind of military test, which actually I think, could have something to it because we know China is expanding their military at a breakneck pace, which we're all funding with our iPhones.
And other goods.
Guilty here too.
Same.
Dr. Alfredo Carpenetti, an astrophysicist who writes for IFL Science, says, I think what it is might be difficult to find out. No joke. China's not going to tell you. But it wouldn't otherwise be a UFO. The problem is that it looks partly like a meteor until it doesn't. That's why I'm skeptical. He added that the video is weird and bouncy, making it difficult to discern what the glowing object is. But think about this. China almost certainly has anti-ballistic missiles of some type, or certainly air defense missiles.
Of course.
So if there was something intruding, I'm guessing they would be more of the ilk to shoot first and ask questions later. Especially, correct. And I don't know that this is the case, but what if it was over some sensitive military base or something, it might be, let's take this out and see. But the interesting thing is that a lot of times, the times it's been reported that UFOs have been fired on, usually it turns out that they're missed. So, yeah.
I just find it fascinating this story came out at all, because China tends to hold things close to its cuff,
Of course. But the thing is that, with the internet, even though they heavily restrict the internet, there's some stuff that gets through people with VPNs and things like that. But I'm guessing, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm guessing if they're caught doing that, it will not go well for them. The funny thing, very early days of the Paranormal Podcast, probably even before Campfire, I had somebody write me and say, I listen to your show every night when I'm walking my dog. And I happen to walk my dog in the People's Republic of China.
I remember that. You were just
I'm like
blown away.
God. Yeah. It was in the very early days. Now, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson has said China has made extraordinary strides, especially in the last 10 years, but they are very, very secretive, to your point. We believe a lot of their so-called civilian space program is a military program, and I think, in effect, we are in a race. And I'm guessing a race that we're probably losing. I mean, and I've been reading a lot about AI and listening a lot. And the thing about China, and I'm definitely not pro-communist, but one of the advantages of the way they have things set up is they can set the whole system to a goal. And our system has, the competition factor, which I think is a different kind of advantage, but they can throw as many people as they want towards a project. That's why they're so scary on AI, because they can just keep throwing programmers and programmers and programmers and programmers and programmers. Where here we have the profit motive, which I am a believer in, but you have these competing interests. You're not all pulling in the same direction. So, and the thought process on AI is, the problem is, the idea is that once you get it far enough ahead in AI and you've got AGI, generalized intelligence, you can start using the AI agents as programmers, and you can spin up millions of programmers, and whoever's in second place will never catch up with you. Anyway.
Can't argue that.
On that
Stop
note,
using AI.
Well, let's talk about something more fun.
Really. Last night, we've got to get into this for a second. Please stop using AI. Jim is he's in the other room. He's talking. I'm like, oh, is he on the phone? No, he's talking to AI constantly. Stop talking to AI.
No, here was a question, and it did I'll give you
Google it. Type it.
Google
Why do you have to go to that thing?
But
no,
anyway,
it does not.
It does. You've got to. This spoon feeds me the information.
It spoon feeds you what you want to hear. You are not.
Well, no, it wasn't anything. This was not anything I had a game at. I was just trying to figure out the history of a word. My West Virginia family on my mom's side would call a moth a miller, which I have no idea. Hey, there's a miller in the house. And I said, where did that come
topic, that wonderful, we got a wonderful feedback about what we are.
We got to talk about that in a minute. Hold on a minute. So anyway, I looked it up, and it said that it's something about when people used to work in the flour mills, they would get dust on their clothes, and a moth will put off similar types of dust. So they called it a miller. because I always thought it was the strangest thing. And it was mainly like my grandma said it and then my mom said it. But my grandma was, very old. She was born in 1899, so she had a lot of old sayings. And my dad still has kind of odd sayings, like instead of Vicks Vapor Rub, it's Vicks Salve. Everything's a salve. A cream you put on your arm for dryness.
Should I put
it's
salve?
A salve? Should I put that salve on there, Jimmy? Speaking of which, that to your point, somebody, first of all, I want to say this is not an insult from anybody who lives in the South. I'm a big fan of
this person made it an insult.
And my family's from West Virginia, which is not technically part of the South, but it basically should be because it is really Southern in kind of its culture and so forth. So I've always had a real kinship to that because that's where my family came from. I was born and raised here in Ohio, but my whole family came from kind of that tradition. So I've always had great respect for the South. But somebody called us rednecks. And I will tell you, my friend, I reject your ontological and now see, I was going to do a joke and I can't even say it. So maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I reject your assumption. I think you're saying that we have a lack of intelligence, and that is an unfair stereotype that people have of
some of these things are so nasty.
But it was
people
redneck.
are so nasty.
They said, Dar and I were a couple of rednecks. That's basically what they said.
Actually, I'm a Dago, so
all I've got to say, there's no place that I'd rather be than right here with my redneck white socks and blue ribbon beer. Anyway, woo-hoo! And we both have master's degrees, so pound salt.
There you go. Well, in today's day and age, it's like that's the insult. That's rude. Not just being rude, mean to us, but that's like being mean to, why is that culturally allowed?
Yeah, why can you say that?
That's just disgusting.
I'm not going to get into it.
That's why and then I'll shut up. But social media, see, you know what? It lets everybody hide behind their little screens. Ooh, I can say whatever I want.
Well, here's
the
thing.
Your face.
If somebody says, I have gotten over the years a lot of very nice compliments on the shows. And I've had people
yes.
And I've had people have legitimate constructive criticism that I've actually taken to heart. Somebody will say, well, maybe you're cutting people off too soon on Campfire, or you're not cutting people off soon enough on Campfire. I get both comments, by the way.
You do.
But whatever it is, I always try to say, do they have a point? And then I adapt if I think they have a point. Nothing wrong with constructive criticism.
That's right. If you feel that compelled and to waste your time to get on there. I mean, isn't time so important? These people must have like endless time to go on the internet and start providing name calling and negative comments to everybody. You know what? I don't know. If you don't like something, don't listen to it.
Hey, if you think it's a bad show, that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say, you know what? I don't think this is a good paranormal news show. I don't like their banter. I don't like their story choice. All of that's fair game.
There's too much. That's
to call us rednecks or city slickers or whatever. That's BS. That's name calling. And name calling is a sign of weak intelligence, in my view.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
And I do think we get a certain amount of people who comment on our shows negatively for other reasons. I think they've got some kind of axe to grind. I don't know what it is.
An agenda.
I think there's a group of people, and I think we're all content creators.
It is.
People will just say, maybe they have a podcast and they want to pull me down, or maybe they're jealous or something. And again, I'm just a middle-class guy. Go be jealous of somebody who's don't be jealous.
Don't be jealous. How about enjoy your own life?
But the point is, the point is that there are specific people out there listening who I know have an axe to grind. And there's a couple specifically, I'm pretty sure that they post under different names and stuff. And it's like, it comes with the territory. But you know what? If you got criticism, I'm not going to tell you not to put it there, but make sure it's fair criticism about the content and about what we do. And don't call us names. Or don't call anybody else names.
That's right. There we go. Okay. That's over.
Where?
You know what? Well, Jim, Loch Ness is back. The monster is back, supposedly. This story is not. Anyway, dailymail.co.uk, the Lost Ness monster. Experts are baffled as mystery creature is filmed lurking in the Thames. So
Whoa.
in the Thames,
Whoa.
in the Thames, right? So this family was out taking a walk, and his name, Ryan Linehan, filmed something swimming near Old Windsor Loch in Berkshire while walking with his parents. And they were just passing by, and it was actually the lock keeper that said to keep an eye out for what he thought was a seal. Okay. And they saw it bob up, and the black head was dipping in and out of the water as it was swimming through the river. Go to the website. I'll have the link. You could judge. In my opinion, it's not Loch Ness, but whatever. They were skeptical about it being a seal because it was so far away from the ocean, and it looked kind of furry, and it had a flat nose. And I've seen the pictures. They have a bunch of pictures here. So everybody, of course, has their theory. Thousands of views, huge debate. It's Nessie. It's just lost. Somebody said it was a sea lion, a turtle, a capybara. 110% it's a seal. I don't think it's a seal. The pictures for me, it didn't look like a seal. Somebody said definitely a beaver. Nobody can agree on what this thing is. Yeah, I don't know. So then they contacted somebody at the local wildlife trust, and that person thought it was an otter. And it kind of makes sense. Actually, to me, it kind of did look like a capybara. So I don't know. It didn't look like Nessie. So I don't know why people were saying that, but that's what happens when you get everyone's opinions. But thought it was interesting to kind of talk about what was in the Thames.
Well, we have another cryptid story coming up. But before we get to that, a couple of little housekeeping things. I wanted to remind everybody we have our merch store at jimharold.com/merch. You click on that link and it'll take you right to my mausoleum of merch. And my goodness, Dar, it is the perfect time to buy merch because it is spooky season. We're right in the middle of spooky season. You've been doing some new designs. I love them.
Well, yeah, it's that collegiate design seems to be very popular right now. You'll see that with for sports teams and whatever. And we thought we'd do some different colors and a different brand of sweatshirt. So this is much softer, more mid-weight. So it's kind of completely different. And then we have some just with solid colors as well. And we got a water bottle up there too. So that's exciting. Logos on both sides. Yeah. So we have a bunch of different colors in that kind of collegiate design. If you didn't want the logo, I know some people don't like the
right. Well, one thing I gotta say about this particular shirt that I'm showing on the screen now, this model looks very impressed with it. She looks like she's very happy.
I know, right?
I mean, look at her. She's just like, this is great.
Yeah, she's just like, look at me. I'm spooky. Maybe. I don't know.
Here's the water bottle. I'm bringing up the water bottle now. So
we have black, white, purple, navy. So there you go.
Yeah.
So
cool
check
stuff.
It out.
Cool stuff. That's
a polar
spout.
camel bottle. So, well, some people want to see what the lid looks like. It's polar camel. It's a good brand, so
yeah. And
we're going with it.
I mean, we really try to, and we talked about this before, we really try to put good quality products in there.
Well, yeah, I could have put in another one in there that it, to me, looked like junk. Like, who wants this? It's going to leak. And that's the hard part, too. There's no reviews, really, of the products, no honest reviews. So it's really hard to tell if something's good or not. So I really try to stick with brand names that I'm familiar with or things that I can research.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times it'll say generic brand. If it's generic brand, it's cheap.
Generic.
Then it's generic cheap, and it's not what we want. So
yeah. So
because if you guys are going to spend your money and your hard-earned money, it better be something that's going to last and be pretty.
I agree.
Pretty solid.
I agree. That's the way to do it.
That's what I want.
That's the way to do it.
We have our just plain Stay Spooky
Stay
shirts.
Spooky, yeah. Stay Spooky.
I don't know if I could get the spooky up on there.
We have the old trademark on that.
People
phrase,
might like that better if we cover my face.
Oh,
they don't have to see me.
Not true. Not true at all.
Well, some people.
Well,
there we go. Well, this next story.
Very sad, very sad.
Yeah, here we go again.
I thought that I had interviewed this gentleman, but I can't find it. So maybe I didn't, but I know.
Oh, yeah, I thought for sure you did.
I thought for sure I did, but I can't find the interview now. I feel silly that I can't recall with 100% recollection, but I've done, over 3,000 episodes, so it gets a little. But one of the most respected people in cryptozoology has passed, unfortunately. Dr. Jeff Meldrum died at only the age of 67 after a brief illness. He was a professor of anatomy and anthropology in the Department of Biological Sciences at Idaho State University, and was best known for all of his work on Bigfoot. He was able to use his knowledge of anthropology to offer an analytical approach to the study of Bigfoot footprints and to determine how such a creature might move. He did believe that Bigfoot was a real creature. And, with his academic background, that really brought credibility to it. And the statement from his family on Facebook, his widow, it is with profound sadness that the Meldrum family shares that Dr. Meldrum has passed following a battle with brain cancer.
Oh.
The illness was brief, and he passed with his family at his side. He loved teaching and researching Bigfoot, but he was a husband and father first. Please respect our privacy in our time of grief. So our hearts go out to him, and I've always loved these researchers who are academics but leave room open for the unknown, and they try to investigate it. So God bless him, God bless his family, and we thank him for his contribution to the field. I always heard such great things about him, and there are a few people who over the years I have not gotten to interview who have passed, and I kind of could kick myself. People like Art Bell, Bud Hopkins on UFOs, and there's there's numerous people, but Dr. Meldrum would definitely fall into that category since apparently I didn't interview him. But my goodness.
Yeah, very sad. Sympathies to his family, and that's rough and young. To me, that's young. I know other people, almost 70. Well, it's still young. Look, I lost my mom at 69. I was like just 30 years old. So most of my adult life now, I didn't really have my mom.
I mean, these days,
I'm sorry, it's young.
Is not, I mean, people are regularly living to 80 years old. I mean, that's still relatively young. I mean, it's way too soon. And he had a lot more to contribute. It's
Absolutely
not fair. And we had a family friend who dealt with that very disease, and he was gone very quickly. And it's just such a monster. Such a monster.
It is.
So on to happier news. You're going to tell us what the spookiest state in the U.S. is, apparently, right?
Not really. This article was very misleading because they're saying Nevada was the spookiest state in the U.S., but when you read the article, there's nothing about that. What it is about is if you're looking for some spooky road trips, this Halloween season or whenever, Nevada is now issuing paranormal
passports.
Passports. I lost it for a minute. Sorry. Yeah, they're very similar. And I remember we talked about this last year with West Virginia. They've got the trail, and you could get your little passport. Well, Nevada is doing the same thing. You can go visit all the sites in the state. There's different sites. You just kind of sign up. They give you a link. And you don't even have to have, it's not even a booklet or anything. When you go through, it's not even an app. When you go to the thing, it's like a digital checklist. You check in with a GPS and you earn a stamp. And once you get enough stamps, you can redeem it for Nevada themed swag, like a blanket or tote bags. Yeah. So there's a whole bunch of different places you can go visit, of course, not just like Area 51 and that stuff. They were talking, there's a clown museum, which kind of freaked me out. There's a picture of it. It was kind of scary anyway. But of course, Area 51 and excuse me, all kinds of other different places around the state that you can go visit and get your passport stamped and get some prizes.
It's interesting how people define spooky, right? Because it's so interesting to me that, see, when I started the Paranormal Podcast, it was all about a big tent, UFOs, cryptids, ghosts. It's all spooky, kind of in that tradition of Coast to Coast AM and In Search of and Unsolved Mysteries, kind of all of it. But there's such like this kind of siloed approach to all of this. Like, I've always found it interesting. The ghost people don't talk to the UFO people who don't talk to the cryptid people. It's really weird. And the thing is, because like I know in any one of those categories, I know a bunch of people, but they don't know each other. It's the weirdest damn thing.
It's very compartmentalized, right?
Yeah, it's very... like, well, I think a lot of it's this. The ghost people go, oh, those UFO people. And I'm not picking on the ghost people, but just you could put it to any group.
Well, vice versa.
Yeah, exactly. The ghost people, all those UFO people, they're kind of kooky. Oh, the UFO people, well, those ghost people.
Those people are.
And don't even tell me about the cryptid people. Yeah. I mean, and it's like, no, I'm not. And there is some hints that these cross categories are related. But shouldn't we all? Not everybody's got their pick and their favorite subject, right? My favorite subject's NDEs. But I'm still fascinated by UFOs and cryptids and ghosty stuff. So there's nothing wrong with having your specialization, but I think we should try to expand our horizons and look into different areas.
I think that's in so many different fields, though, Jim. I mean, even though, like I could just talk to speech therapy because I know that, but like in speech therapy, right, you've got people who are all about child language. Then you have people that are all about the medical aspect. Then you got people that are all about speech disorders. So you have, it's very much like that there. Yes, we get one degree and we're supposed to be able to treat all of those things. But I often thought, I don't know, at least we understand all of them, right? But I always feel like you do have kind of a niche that you're in, you're more equipped to handle. So maybe that's what these people think too. But you're right. They should kind of at least touch on everything if you're in the paranormal realm.
I agree. And if you do want to touch on everything in the paranormal, I know, Dar, someplace you can do it.
I do too.
My Spooky Studio Plus Club. And I haven't publicized this yet, but we're shooting for at least 3,000 members by Halloween, and we have a few hundred slots to go to get there. So please help us. We just recently got back to the number we were last summer because we did a huge switch over to improve the experience for everybody. But in the meantime, we lost a lot of members. I've been talking about how our host read ad revenue is down. We need your help. And a lot of people say, hey, Jim, why don't you put up a donate link? Well, we're not a charity. We're a small business, and I don't feel right doing that. But I do feel right asking you to join our Spooky Studio Plus Club because you get a lot for a little bit. It's less than the cost of a couple fancy coffees. Heck, it's probably less than the cost of a fancy coffee in New York City. But the point is that whether you listen to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, however you listen, there is an option, and you get access to over 2,700 episodes, including those Campfire Remastered, where we're taking out the ads and remastering it audio-wise. People are loving that. Exclusive interviews. There's a ton of content. So we do need your help, but we want to make it a win-win where you win and we win. So please join our Spooky Studio Plus Club today. There's monthly and yearly options. You get $30 off your first year or $5 off your first month with the Spooky Studio Plus Direct version. So, Dar, it means a lot to us. We're a small business. In my newsletter this week, I went over what some of the costs are, and the costs keep going up and the reserves keep going down. So we're just being straight with people. We need your help. Don't want donations, but we would like you to sign up for our Spooky Studio Plus Club because that's the most impactful and direct way that you can help us. JimHerald.com/plus.
If things are rough, you can do a month. You're talking about giving us a donation anyway. Just do a month of the Studio Plus. See if you like it.
Yeah.
And another thing over.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all of our current Plus members. But if you're a current Plus member, please make sure you're getting the full value. And you have to go in, if you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify, and subscribe to each different show. Your feed will cover them all, but you have to add them. So make sure, that you have Campfire. Make sure you have the Paranormal Podcast. Make sure you have Ancient Mysteries on the Air. Make sure you have The Other Side. Make sure you have the Cryptid Report. Make sure that you have UFO Encounters. And I know I'm forgetting one other one. I think I forgot one.
Ghost Insight.
Ghost Insight.
Ghost Insight.
So all of those shows, if you're a Plus Club member, those are included. Make sure you add those into your app, whichever one it is. It's all covered under the price, but you just have to add them in. I'm amazed at how many
Campfire
people...
Remastered separate from
Campfire Remastered is part of the Campfire
Part of the
feed.
Campfire.
So if you're in the Plus Club and
Hidden
you add
Gems
Campfire,
too?
Hidden Gems too is part of the Campfire feed, yeah. So,
I'm just clarifying that for everyone.
Yeah, but the point being that make sure you're getting the value, and there's a lot of value there. One of the companies we were talking to when we made this big what did I just say? I'll bleep that. 53.
When we made this big oh, that's good. Oh, look at how red you are.
That will be beeped. Anyway, when we made this big shift, they said we had more content than anybody out there, including big companies. That's not happened in 20 years. But It happened today. It happened today.
It didn't? It's never happened.
Not that I can recall. And boy, am I constipated. But no. Oh, ba-dum-bum.
There you go. Somebody doesn't like those either.
They don't like the sound effects and the jokes.
No. Oh, well. Goodbye.
Well, anyway, I guess that we've done our work here today.
Yes, you have.
We'll talk to you next time on the Paranormal Report. Bye-bye, everybody.
Have a great week. Stay spooky. Stay safe. That was great.